welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing another Disney video, and today's video is going to be all about the Disney College Program. So some of you know already that I was a part of the Disney College Program, and you have been asking me tons of questions all about what it was like, what to expect, what the interview process was like. So today's video is all about what it was really like being a part of the Disney College Program. Also check out for a huge announcement coming up at the very end of the video where I talk about my possible return to Disney in some way or another. So I'm gonna start off with the very basics, what it is, because a lot of people don't understand, is it an internship? How long is it? So it is a program for people who are in college, and it's kind of like the equivalent of a study abroad program. You will pause on your normal college career, wherever you're going, you will go to Disney either in Florida or California for a set amount of time. It depends on when you go. I did the fall program, and there was a fall extension program. I can't remember the name of it, but it was for 6 months starting in May and going through to December. That, if I did that, that would interrupt my graduation, so I didn't do that. I started in September and went through until December. So some programs are longer than others, but typically it's anywhere between 4 to 6 months. It's very similar to a study abroad program where you go away for a couple months, get to live there, and then you come back to whatever you're doing in college. So when I applied, I actually got very fortunate. I know some people do apply a couple different times and they don't necessarily get in on the first time, so I got very lucky. I got in the very first time I applied, and I actually applied the very last time I could have applied because I applied my very last semester in college, and if I didn't get it, like, I would have never done it. So I applied my very last semester of college. I applied actually the day the applications came out, and I do think that's actually really important. I think the longer that they're there, I think it will be the harder for you to get approved. I can't confirm or deny that, but the whole process for me went really quick because I applied on the first day. This is back in 2015, so this is 2 years ago. It's kind of hard for me to remember, but I think I got my interview on the phone, I want to say 2 weeks to a month maybe after that, and then I heard that I got in a month later. Whatever the time frame is normally, I think it's like a few months, I heard back within a month. So I heard back a lot sooner than other people did. In fact, when I went to the college program performer audition, I already knew when I went to that audition that I had gotten in. So I heard back way sooner than other people. So I do think there is an advantage to applying as soon as they come out. And also I think the spots like fill up for the different roles, so you might have a better opportunity at getting the role that you want. So let me also start off by talking about the interview process, or what it takes, or what it looks like when you apply. So my friend had signed up for the emails. That's how I knew the very first day it had opened. But the application process isn't always open. They have opportunities for summer, spring, and fall. And the fall one has an advantage program where you can do it 2 months earlier and start in May. So it's kind of like a summer and fall program. But they don't always have applications open. So you have to know when they're going to open applications. And they won't really list the date on their website, but they will send out an email before the applications are open. So what you do is, as soon as the applications open, I would again highly recommend applying. I think I had a higher chance of getting in because I applied the first day and I was really on top of doing the whole application process. So you fill out an online application, but basically what you do is you fill out the basic information. It's kind of like a job application, to be honest. I was kind of surprised about that, but it was a lot like a job application where I provided my previous work history, and I also listed where I would like to live, like if I wanted to do the Florida one or the California one, which one was my top pick out of the two, just the basic information. To be totally honest, I love California and I love Disneyland. I was born in California, and so I've grown up with my family going to Disneyland. If I had as many opportunities at the Disneyland option, I probably would have done that one. But the Disneyland one is definitely not as developed as the Disney World one. The Disney World one has been around for longer. I think that was the original one, and they have so much more opportunities. So really, to get the most out of this program, I feel like you should do the Florida one. I could be totally wrong. I've never done the Disney one, or Disneyland one. I'm sure that one's just as great. But when I was going through, I could see the Disneyland one only really had, I think it was 5 options for job opportunities. They had, what was it? I believe it was attractions and rides, food and beverage, think they had custodial, and they also had merchandise, and there's one more I can't remember. But they had very limited opportunities, whereas the Florida option had about 3 times the amount of opportunities. You had the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, you had PhotoPass, character attendant, character performer. So I felt like that one was a lot more advantageous in the sense that I have a better chance of getting a job that I would really like doing that one, even though it was very intimidating. Thinking about moving across the country, I will have to admit that part was kind of scary, but I thought that had more opportunities, so I picked that one first. I ended up getting in that one. My top 3 choices were character performer, character attendant, and then Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. I worked for Sephora. I love makeup, so I thought that would be a good option for me as well. But I would also love to do PhotoPass. I think that would have been fun too. I think they also have a lifeguard job. They have just so many different types of jobs. So that's why I was leaning more towards the Disney World option. And yeah, so you do that, and then you have the phone interview. So you set up a time to do the phone interview, and honestly, you should prepare for this like you would prepare for a job interview. You should already have questions in mind prepared if they're going to ask you. Some of those questions being like, oh, well, why do you think you'd be good for this role, or what draws you to this role? And they'll even like question you on like some of the things you would be doing in that role. For example, I put my number 1 as character performer. And so they were asking me things such as, if Winnie the Pooh had to go away, what would you tell the guests? And I said something like, oh, you know, when he's got a little bit of a rumbly in his tumbly, he's gonna go get his pot of honey, but he'll be right back. But they're gonna ask you questions about why you were suited for the role. So if there was a role that you really want, like the character performer role or the character attendant role, have some examples prepared about why you think you would be such a good fit for that role. So for me, I had acting experience and I always loved acting, so I really emphasized that. So make sure with any job interview, you do your research, you know what the role entails, and you know you want to tell the person how you will be amazing at that role and how you can make that role better, if that makes sense. Anyways, the interview I felt like went great. I tried so hard just to be really excited and very peppy and just show how much I wanted this and how much I loved it. So yeah, so then to be a character performer, you do have to go to an audition. Luckily, they happen to have an audition in Seattle. I live in Washington State, and so they have one in Seattle, which was really cool because some of the times they just don't have them even in your state. So that was really awesome. I met some friends from Eastern Washington. I met some friends of Idaho, so it was a really fun audition experience. If you guys have seen my other audition video, you know that I didn't get to be a character performer, which I'm actually really glad about. I loved the character attendant role, and that was the role I was selected as and got to do while I was in the college program. Here's what you can expect with the Disney College program. So you will expect to have housing. They supply, they provide housing for you, and they also provide transportation. Now I know a lot of people chose to bring their own cars. I did not have that luxury. I was coming from Washington State. That would be a lot of money for a short amount of time for me to ship my car out. But I chose to do I think it's called TransStar bus system, and I really didn't mind it. I know a lot of people just absolutely hated it. I think by the time that I had gotten there, they had done some significant improvements and it wasn't as late. It was pretty on time. They even had a bus app for it so you can see when the bus was coming. I never really had a problem with it. I would always also catch a ride with friends sometimes, but they do provide transportation, which is cool, and they do provide housing, but they do take money out of your paycheck I think it's each week because you get paid weekly. They take money out of your paycheck each week to provide for that. So you can also expect to not make a ton of money. It's not like you're gonna get rich from this, but you will also have a job, which I think is really cool. So you have a job, you have an option to take courses there, which I'll explain in a little bit. You have the option that you have transportation provided, and then you also have housing. So it's cool because if you're like me and you're from the other side of the country and you're really stressed out about where am I gonna live? How am I gonna get to my job? What job am I going to have? Like, all that stuff is provided for you, and you're only there for a set amount of time. So it's a really cool experience to be able to work for Disney, but still go back to college. So once you get accepted, then you get to choose where you want to live, who you want to live with. So I had a friend, I think I mentioned her earlier, that knew when the applications are coming out. She also got accepted, and we wanted to room together. So we obviously picked each other. She had done the program before, and so she had friends from her previous program that were doing the program again, and so she was able to talk to them, and we all said that we wanted to room together, all of us. However, we thought there was an option to pick more than one roommate, because there are housing situations where you can have like 6 people, there's ones with 8 people, there are ones with 2 people, so there's a lot of different options, and we thought that you would be able to say, oh, I want to live with all 6 of these people, because there was an option to have a room or have a living situation with 6 people. So I was worried, and so they only gave you up to 3, so I obviously picked my one friend that I knew, and then she picked another friend, and then their other 3 friends picked each other, and we all just assumed, you know, maybe when we get there we can talk to them and have them all put all 6 of us in a room. That actually didn't work out that way. We got 3 actually other random roommates. 2 of them already knew each other previously, and one of them did not know any of us. So I think it also just kind of depends on the program. Sometimes they will give you the option to pick multiple people, sometimes they won't. But they do give you the option to pick at least one other person, so that if you do know someone going into it, you won't have to be completely alone. And they do give you different housing options. I was at Vista Way. I really liked it. A lot of people talked really bad about it because out of all the different living areas, it definitely wasn't the nicest one, but it was, I want to say, one of the least expensive ones. But when I was there too, they were doing construction and they were remodeling it. We just happened to get into a room or a living situation, apartment I guess, that wasn't one of the remodeled ones. So it was a little bit cheaper, which was nice. Again, living expenses in Florida are much cheaper than they are in Washington State. And even the pay though is a little bit lower too. So it wasn't too terrible. I didn't really mind it too much, but there are different options, and you can look online too and just see the reviews or what people have said. There was some other fun living areas as well. So very briefly, you do get the option to choose who you want to live with. It just kind of depends on the program, how many people you get to live with, and then you do get to choose or list your preferences in the area that you would like to live as well. So they can't always guarantee that you will get the apartment complex area that you like the most, but they will do their best to provide that. So what you can expect from the living situation. Like I said before, there was different room setups. So there were 3-man rooms, there were 2-man rooms. It just really ranged on where you were living, like which housing complex you were at, and also your personal apartment complex. They had different layouts, and so they had different setups and rooms. So I happened to have a 2-man room with my friend I knew from college, which really was really nice for me. It was just so nice because I'm such a homebody, and there were days I just really missed my family and friends back home. And it was just nice to have a familiar face who got it, who would know the people I would talk about. But I think for the most part, we all got along pretty great. There was one roommate who I didn't really vibe well with the entire time. We were just really different. And that is one thing to be cautious of. I think everyone kind of had their own experience from what it sounded like, but it did sound like everyone had at least one conflict with some sort of roommate. So because there are so many different types of people in the college program, you can't really guarantee that you will always get along great with your roommates. Again, I really did like my roommates. They were really fun. Just this one girl was just very different from me. The way we thought about things was different. The way we would react to things was different. And so we were good most of the time. There were times that we just didn't click super well. For example, this should have been my crazy Disney stories. I don't know why it wasn't. But one day I went to the little gym that was at my housing complex. I come back and she has snuck in a recovering heroin addict from a facility who didn't have any sort of ID on him. We weren't really allowed to have guests that didn't have ID. They had to like check the ID. They were actually really good with security there, which is a huge plus. So she snuck him in the trunk of her car, and I came back at 11. I want to say it was 11 or 12. I came back from going to the gym. I came back and she's just having loud intercourse with this like recovering heroin addict. She doesn't know this guy. She met him off of Tinder, and it's just like, I mean, it was the middle of the day. It wasn't like she didn't know. It's not like she knew everyone was out of the house. She was kind of bragging about it afterwards. So we're just very different in that aspect, and she can do her, but it was just kind of hard because it did interfere with my boundaries. Like for me, like that's not okay. So that was not the best roommate experience for me, and it definitely made me realize that I need to be very picky about the roommates I will have in the future, because you can't always guarantee you'll get along with everyone. And some people can do the whole random roommate from Craigslist option. I personally cannot. This is a great opportunity or explanation why. She was a really nice person. A lot of the other girls got along with her great. It just seemed to be me and her that just did not clash well based off of, you know, what I thought was appropriate in terms of boundaries and what you shouldn't do in the middle of the day when I'm coming back from a run, and I was not expecting that to be happening, and it was just very shocking. So anyways, you don't always get to pick your roommates, so I felt like roommate conflict was a thing. Like from what I talked to from other people that lived in other apartments, they always had like one person that they didn't get along with. I had one friend, come to think of it now, who these two girls, they were twin sisters, they got kicked out because they were chasing each other around the apartment complex with a knife. Like, so you just don't know where these people are coming from. You can't really guarantee they're not all coming from the same background as you, which is also really cool though, because you'll have all these different people from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and it's really cool because they'll have the people there who are coming from like, they have an international program as well. So you have people there you can meet from all over the world, and I think it's a really cool experience that not many people get to experience. Like where I went to college, a lot of people there were from that area, or from at least the West Coast. So it was really cool for me just to get to know other people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, and it was a really cool experience in that aspect of just getting to know people that I wouldn't normally get to know. So the classes were pretty cool, and they did give you a few options. So my university was pretty big, and they did offer online classes. So if I was still in college, I could have taken collegiate courses there and just done them online. They also gave you the option to take courses for credit that they offered, which I thought was pretty cool. They also had lots of workshops, which I went to one of the workshops, and I would highly recommend it. And what else? Oh yes, I took 2 classes there. They were, I think, for 6 weeks. They were not the whole program, but the majority of the program I was taking 2 different classes. I took a marketing class, and I also took a Disney history class as well. It's called, I think it's called Traditions. Again, I haven't done this in, I mean, it's been 2 years, so my memory is not the best since then. But I believe there was a class called Traditions. It was actually really hard to get into, but I am so glad I did it. If you are a huge Disney fan, and you are doing the college program and you have the chance to sign up for that class, you should do it. It is so cool. It just walks through Walt Disney's life, like where he began and how he, like his early years, how he became interested in art, his whole business side. There were so many things I learned there that I didn't even know. One of the coolest things I learned from that class was that they originally, when they created Magic Kingdom in Florida, they didn't have the intention of putting in Pirates of the Caribbean. They didn't plan on putting that in because what they imagined was having Pirates of the Caribbean, which is on the East Coast, in Disneyland, which is on the West Coast. So they're bringing the East to the West, and then they were going to bring the West Coast to the East Coast. And so they actually wanted to build Thunder Mountain in that area instead of having Pirates of the Caribbean. They weren't going to have it at all. But when they opened Magic Kingdom, people were so upset that they didn't have Pirates of the Caribbean, so they quickly took all the funds they had to build the Thunder Mountain area and took that and built both Space Mountain, and they also built Pirates of the Caribbean. So if you're in Pirates of the Caribbean in Florida and you're used to the one from Disneyland, you'll notice it's a lot shorter. I mean, it's still a fun ride, but it's definitely nowhere near as great as the original one is. That's because they had such a time crunch. They were just trying as fast as they could to build that ride because people were expecting it, and they had no idea it would be that missed in Magic Kingdom. So I thought that was cool. I had no idea that wasn't planned, and that makes sense because I was always wondering why it wasn't the same ride and why it wasn't as good and why it was so much shorter, and that's why. It's because they didn't originally plan for it. Anyways, all that to say, that class is really great, and I would also recommend taking the marketing class. It was really interesting. I was just curious because Disney is such a huge corporation and they are very, very successful. I feel like that's very widely known. And so I was really interested in learning about marketing and business from one of the most, financially sound business companies. Obviously what they do works. So it was cool learning from them about how that works. They will also sometimes have fun events just for the college program students. Like I know there was one night they had a special character meet and greet, and it was Ariel and Prince Eric, who have always been my favorites. So I was so excited to meet them. It was a lot of fun. As soon as I saw Prince Eric, I've never met Prince Eric, and as soon as I saw him, I was just like, Ariel who? Like I didn't even pay attention to Ariel. I was just going right for Prince Eric, and I was just so excited. So they had character meet and greets just for the college program students, which was cool. They also had different different events. Like I know that they had like a mini formal, which was really fun too. So it was really cool. It was a really cool experience. They had lots of different things you could do. Oh, and the workshops. I forgot to mention the workshops. They had different workshops about like interviewing and resume building, and I so highly suggest that if you have the chance to do one of them, just go to it. I know the resume one that I went to, it was earlier in the morning, and so I was just like, oh my gosh, I do not want to get out of bed right now and go to that. But I'm so glad I went. So you have the opportunity to learn from one of the most successful business companies about what they look for in a resume or how to interview. Like they're teaching you how to do these things, and these are really great life skills. So if you have the chance to do it, I would highly suggest it. It was so cool for me to learn. I've already done different things like with my resume. I already went to workshops, but it was really cool to learn like what Disney looked for in a resume, or what stood out to them, or what mattered and what didn't. So those are really cool. They had the workshops, and they had different levels of classes too, but the workshops are free, I believe, and they're open to everyone. So I would really highly suggest, if you are on the college program, if you're thinking about it, to sign up for those workshops, because it will make a huge difference and you will not regret it. I feel like I've pretty much covered everything. There's the application process, there's what to expect when you're working there. You will have a job no matter what. It might not be your first pick in a job, but honestly, just try your hardest to make the best of it. I had my friend actually that I lived with, her first program, she did food and beverage, and I think she wasn't looking forward to it, but then she made some friends who were in custodial, and she said that she was so jealous because they were so close and they had so much fun, and whenever she got to hang out with them, she genuinely wished that she could be on the custodial staff, which I feel like no one goes into that thinking that they're gonna want that job. But I think every opportunity has the chance for you to make the best of it. I think obviously there were days too where I just really didn't want to be a character attendant. There were days when I was a performer, I just did not want to be a performer. And there are downsides and upsides to every job you will ever have in life, I believe. So I think any job is what you make of it. What's interesting is her first program, she did food and beverage, and the second program she did, she was a florist. She did the florist program. I guess it was their first year doing it, and she was really excited, and the florist position sounded like so much fun. They said that you would be able to do weddings and see the Cinderella Castle Suite and do all these fun different things, and it sounded like a really cool opportunity. But when she got there, I guess all the people who had been there previously had just upped and quit, and so the managers were new, and she was doing like gift baskets, and her talents weren't really being used, and she actually ended up really not liking it, which is funny because I feel like someone, if they're looking at that job, they would think, oh my gosh, that would be so much more fun than food and beverage, but she genuinely missed being in food and beverage because of the camaraderie she had with the people that were working there. So I think in any situation with any job that they offer in either the Disneyland college program or in the Florida college program, there's going to be some jobs that maybe aren't as favorable, and sometimes if you do, I think it's if you apply later too, or if you apply for a second time, you might not always get the first pick of your job. Like I know I didn't get the character performer role, I was a character attendant, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bummed about that because I really wanted to be a performer. But I'm so glad looking back on it that I had the opportunity to be a character attendant, because I feel like I had a perspective that a lot of the performers didn't have, because I saw the whole picture. I knew how the character attendants wouldn't get treated fairly if a performer came on set late. Some performers just didn't care, but they didn't understand, like, while they're taking their time coming onto set and just, you know, coming out late, the character attendants are getting yelled at. Even some of the ride operations people who were with the meet and greet locations, they get yelled at. And it's not fair for them to get yelled at because you're taking your sweet time coming out. So I always made sure that I was always on time as a performer because I knew the repercussions of me just taking a few extra minutes. So things like that, I really appreciate having the character attendant role because I saw the big picture and I saw how each job really affects the other one. I saw how a bad performer could really make an attendant's job a lot harder, or how a bad attendant too can make the performer's job a lot harder. And same with PhotoPass too. I think there's a lot of different elements to the meet and greet experience, and it's not always just about the performer. I think a bad PhotoPass or a bad attendant could also ruin that really for the guests as well. So I really was kind of glad at the end of it that I didn't get the role I really truly wanted. I had an amazing time in my college program. Yes, there were days where it was just, you know, waiting for the bus wasn't fun, or I didn't always get along with my roommates, or work was hard, or I missed my family. So there are some cons to it, but I had the chance to work for Disney. So I think I've covered everything. Again, this is just all from the top of my head of what I can remember. It was 2 years ago, so my memory is probably not the best, but you guys had really requested it, so I was like, sure, you know what, I'll just do a video on it. If you do have any questions, please leave your questions down below. I would be more than happy to answer them for you because I'm sure there's probably some things that I just didn't cover and you were looking forward to. So for some announcements, so I feel like I've used this backdrop a lot recently. I'm in the process of moving, so everything's a huge mess right now, and this is like the only thing that's like clean and it's already set up. So I keep using that, that's why I keep using that. So my videos might be a little inconsistent because I am moving. I will try to still make them at the same day and time. It's like Tuesday or Wednesday I try to make my videos. Sometimes it doesn't work out because I'm gone on the weekends, but I will still do my best to have these up for you once a week, even though I'm in the process of moving. And I do have a really exciting announcement for you guys. I am planning a trip going back to Disney World in the fall. So I haven't decided yet on any specific dates or anything like that. It's just a plan that I have. It's going to happen. It's a plan I have right now. I'll let you guys know more details when it gets closer. But yeah, I will let you guys know when I have more details, but I am planning to go back and visit Disney World in the fall sometime. So I'm really excited to go see friends, and I just love Disney in the fall. It's also less crowded than in the fall, so that's kind of nice, but I'm really excited about it, and I thought I'd let you guys know, and I'll probably do some vlogging or videos on what to pack, like what to wear, because I know a lot of you guys have also asked for Disney merchandise or favorite Disney clothing items and stuff like that, so I will definitely do a video on that as well, and I'm so excited, and I couldn't wait to let you guys know. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about what it was like for me to be a part of the Disney College program, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!